Hi, and welcome back to the T on Realty. I'm your host, Rachel Jackson, a broker associate with Exit Real Estate Gallery. I just want to welcome you all back to another episode of the T on Realty. All right, so let's get right into it. So this week I'm going to be talking about just things that I think I mentioned in another episode about stuff you should be doing in the mortgage process. But I think I kind of need, like I said, I go over different things about the same topics, but different perspectives on it. So I think this one needs to be more of a what you really don't need to be doing and what you need to be doing. And I think this is a much needed topic in when it comes to buying a home because excuse me, if I didn't notice that something like this was going on quite a bit, I probably wouldn't need to talk about it as much. But I think the mortgage process is a topic that always needs to be talked about. So let's get right to it. So I have a list of things that over the years I felt like that I've encountered throughout transactions, and then we're talking with other different type of mortgage people that people just shouldn't do during the mortgage process. And the biggest one is, and you would think that people should know this, but do not change jobs. Do not quit your job. Do not change the pay structure of your job. Don't work less or don't become self-employed while you're in the process of getting a mortgage for a home. And the biggest thing with self-employment for me is because if you're going to want to say that you want to use your self-employment as a way to increase your buying strategy or increase your mortgage or to increase the amount that you can purchase with, you won't be able to do that if you just started a new business because you have to have the business and file taxes on that self-employment new business for 2 years. So people don't realize that. They're like, oh, but I done made $100,000 this year. This is your first year in business. Okay, you got to be in business 2 years. You can make $300,000, but you have to have filed taxes for 2 years on self-employment, and that's the thing that people don't realize. And people don't realize that the only other caveat too with switching jobs in the middle of a mortgage transaction or something is, or right before you finna apply for a mortgage, is if you switch job, like let's say, for instance, you're a CNA and you get a promotion, or you go from one nursing home to another nursing home, there is a little leeway because the job that you were at and the job that you acquired are in the same field. So, you can't say, I'm going to be, I'm going to be a janitor and I'm going to be a nurse. That's a big jump. Even though you're making more money as a nurse, in their eyes, you're going to have to work at least 3 to 6 months consecutively in that new completely role. Now, like I said, if it's a role that you've already been in for many years, then you just transition over, and there might not be that long play where you have to go with proving about where you work and how long you work. So just don't quit, change, start any type of new job or any type of, you can start. Now, I'm not telling you to not be an entrepreneur and start a new business, but you won't be able to use that income to qualify for a mortgage. So just be mindful of that. Another one is do not buy a new car, or you may be living in your new car, because if your debt to ratio income does not, one, say that you purchasing and getting a new debt and making payments on is sufficient enough to cover this new potential mortgage, you won't be able to get it. You're going to have to go an additional 90 days showing that you are consistent with your payment, that this payment of this new car is not putting you in a bind, and it's not increasing your debt to ratio. So I always tell people, unless you're making a lot of money where that's really not even affecting your DTI, then by all means. But most people that I deal with, it affects it in some slight way, So, I mean, if you're a millionaire, it probably won't affect you at all. But just for the regular common people that buying every day from day to day, don't buy that new car or you might be living in it. especially if you done broke your lease and told them you leaving, and now you gotta wait 90 days. This show that you can afford this new payment. So don't buy a new car until after you sign on that dotted line to close on your house. Not the morning of. Don't roll up to the closing with your new car. Don't do that. Because lenders run your credit, and I said this before, the morning of closing sometimes. The day, if you're going to close in the morning, your closing could be at 10 o'clock in that morning, and they'll run your credit at 8 or run your credit at 9. And if they see a new ping on there, they can halt the closing. They can do that. So don't be that person. Okay? Wait after you get the closing. 2, do not let anyone pull your credit, which means do not take on any new credit at all. And I'm talking about bad cop, errands, buddies, whoever you trying to rent, a store credit, IKEA credit, Apple credit. Don't let anybody pull your credit until after closing. This is something that people don't think shit stink until it does. And I'm telling you, I'm keeping it real with you. You will be crying at the table if you can't close on that beautiful home because you decided that you just couldn't wait to get that furniture. Because they will tell you at that furniture store, oh, this ain't going to affect you. They ain't going to know about this. It's not going to show. Yes, it will. It will. It does. Every time. So don't let them fool you. They're not the one buying the house. You are. They're not the one that's a realtor. I am. They're not the one lending you the money. The lender is. And I'm pretty sure if you got a good lender and you got a good realtor like myself, you done heard it from both sides. Don't you apply for no new credit. Don't apply for no furniture, no car, no store credit. None of that. Until after you get them keys. You can do what you want to do with it. Okay? Do not charge up your credit cards that you already have until after closing. If anything, keep bringing your utilization rates on your credit cards down. Don't say, oh, I already got this credit card. I got, $10,000 limit, so it's already credit I have. No, it's the debt. And if you have a $10,000 limit and when the lender pulls your information, you only had $3,000 uses on it, and then you feel like because you already have a full 10, that doesn't affect you, and then you go charge an additional $4,000 or $5,000, that's debt that you now created. That's debt that now your lender has to put into account into your DTI, which if you were already pushing it in the beginning on your DTI, this is just might could cap it over. Well, now you're going to have to pay that down. And now it's going to push your buying strategy back a month, could be 2 months, however many months it took you to pay that $4,000 down. So don't rack up the credit you already have. If anything, continue paying on time on it and pay a little more to get it down lower. Do that. Do not spend any money you have saved for closing. I mean, common sense, right? The lender telling you you potentially gonna have to bring $6,000 to closing. Why would you go spend $2,000 of that $6,000? And you think that you're gonna be asking your realtor to pay some of your closing costs when you did something that you knew you wasn't supposed to do? No. Do not spend your savings for your closing. It's one thing to have money that you might not have to use, but it's another thing to not have money that you need. And you might potentially need that money because if the lender telling you that you need it, you need to act like you need it. Even if you are getting down payment assistance or closing cost assistance from the seller, the lender always tells you what that is. Because for some reason, if the seller backs out at some moment and says they're not going to pay anything, guess what? If you still want that house, it's on you. And if you've got in your head that, okay, I know my closing costs and prepays and everything, my down payment was going to be $8,000. But the seller paying this and this and this and this and this going on. So I ain't going to need that $8,000 so I can spend two of it. No, don't spend none of it until after closing. Then you know for sure that you don't need it for closing. Can't stress that enough. Just don't spend your savings that you have for closing. Until, okay? Do not deposit any cash or make large deposits into your bank account because the lender don't know where that money came from. Unless you're self-employed and you get paid cash, like you got a lawn service and people pay you cash for your lawn service, and that's how you do your business. 9 times out of 10, I would suggest that they get some kind of electronic payment system, a Cash App, a PayPal, something where it's directly deposited and the lender can see that it's coming from a person so they can track that person, but they really can't. Or a check that was deposited, they pay you by check. They can track who the check came from. But when you're making $1, $2, and $3, and $4,000 deposits or $100, they be like, where that cash come from? Oh, I got this from doing this job over. What job? Now you got to start whipping up people to get into your business of buying. Because now they want to know who this person that gave you this money. And now they want to know, can this person legally give you this money? So I always tell people from my experiences, the bank, the lender is going to want to see at least 60 to 90 days worth of bank statements. So if you are that person that makes large drops of money that you can't explain where it came from, or maybe the person who's paying you like, I don't want to get involved in, that, because there are people like that, like, I'm paying you, I don't want to get involved in what you better make that last drop longer than that. You better make it 120 days before you decide to apply for a mortgage, because if it comes up on those 90-day statements, they're going to question where it comes from. If you do a lot of transferring from this account to that account and back, they're going to want to see that whatever you're transferring to and from, your lender going to be like, I want to see where you're transferring to. Who's transferring to you? Now, what if it's an account that's not yours? Now, they're like, well, that's not my account. Somebody giving me. What are they transferring money into your account for? Because unless it's approved by the lender, you can't get gifts to buy your house. You can't get it unless it's approved in advance. You cannot get a gift. Oh, my granddaddy gave me $1,000 to help me find. You can't do it. It has to be approved prior to, and it has to be approved through the lender. So the granddaddy might be nice, but before you allow granddaddy to do that, or if you're going to have granddaddy do that, have granddaddy do that 120 days out, not within 90 days. Okay? And I always have a snippet about people, and when you're doing transactions and stuff, like when you start the process and you pay for your appraisal out of an account, and then you do a home inspection, if it's a lender that be giving you credits for doing these extra incentives like home inspections and stuff like that, wind mitigations, stuff like that, to give you incentives off their fees for doing it, do it out of one account. Don't pay your appraisal out of your checking from Navy Federal and then pay your home inspection and all this out of another account with Wells Fargo. Because now that, oh, wait a minute. Now I need to see the statements from Wells Fargo, because you might be getting lump sums from Wells Fargo in that account. Wherever you start with, whatever bank that you start to use when you're starting this process, use that one bank account to do your appraisal, to pay for your home inspection, to pay for anything that has to do with this loan. Do not use multiple accounts, because then you're going to have to be providing all that extra information, because now it's on their radar. And if they see it, they're going to want to see it. And you're like, oh, man, don't do it. Use one account. So I stress that a lot. Okay, do not pay any bills late during the mortgage process. Like I said, pay everything on time, your car, your credit cards, your light bill, your rent, whatever, any bill that you have. Because apparently up until this point, you've been paying on time anyways, because the lender was like, you're not a good on-time payer. They want to move forward with you. Continue to pay. Just because you under contract on a house and you're doing this process, that doesn't mean you stop doing everything that you've been doing to get to this point. Because I'm sure some of you did a lot to get to this point. You did a lot. I know you have, because I've been working with some people for years. So I know some people done did a lot. And you don't want to mess it up because you missed the payment. I'm like, what happened? You've been making these payments 5 years on time. What happened? Oh, man, No, 5 years, too long. You know what that bill do. So don't miss any payments. Pay everything on time. Pay it a little bit early if you can, so it can help with your credit. Just keep your credit line. Don't let your credit dip. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it. Do not, like I already had mentioned earlier, do not buy furniture or begin moving. I mean, like, where you moving to? Because you ain't got the house yet. So you can't move nowhere. But don't buy any new furniture. Like I said, Badcock will tell you, oh, this ain't going to affect your buying. Yes, it will. It will and it can, because it's debt. It's a credit ding. That debt could have been the one deciding factor with you getting down payment assistance, because you got to be at that 640 and above, and you're like right at the tip of 642, and then Badcock pulls your credit and it drops you to 239. The lender, and they're a good lender, they might know a little trick or two to get it to go bumping up. But if they don't know that trick or two, guess what? There's nothing they can do when they pull your credit again and it say 639. They're like, you can't get it down. You can still get this loan, but you can't get a down payment assistance because it got to be at a 640. 239, they're not curving on that. They're not curving on that 640 for down payment assistance. They're not. It's been like that for years. They're not going down because of the market. They're not going down because of COVID. 640 is the number. Down payment assistance. If you want it, get that 640, boo. Because they're not curving on that. Okay? So just be mindful of that. Don't buy any furniture or anything like that until after you get the keys. Okay? And I think I might have mentioned this, but do not change banks. If I haven't, I know I said whatever account you start with, finish with that account. Don't switch banks in the middle of this process. So if you hate a bank right now and you just, they made me sit in and if you've already started the process of purchasing, don't switch bank accounts right now. Tough it out with this bank. Continue to get your checks there from your employer until after you get the keys for closing for y'all. Then you can shut them down and open up whoever you want. Just don't change bank. You can open up the new bank wherever you want, but don't change the payroll to the new bank yet. Don't do that. You can open up the new account. Don't change anything you start. Wherever you start with this lending process, finish with the same. Because for me, I get frustrated sometimes when people start asking for stuff that I feel. I'm like, why you need that for? Oh, because you did. I'm like, dang, why did I do that? But see, if you don't know, then you go, I open up a new bank. Open up this. And I'm like, okay, now I need this. Now you're going to have to wait a couple months. So I want to make sure that, why? See, sometimes I tell people, only provide people with information that they ask for. Because sometimes too much information can get you set back. So only provide what they ask for. You don't need to give them any extra information that they did not ask for. You give them what they asked for. Don't hold back on what they asked for. Just give them what, because on your thing, I don't know the question like, do you have 7 bank accounts? You might have 7. And that question is specifically designed to ask you a specific question where you could be caught lying. Then you answer the question accurately. Yes, I have 7 bank accounts. But if it says, who do you bank with? Choose one bank that you want associated with this loan. And choose a bank that preferably has your money in it, that you get your income from. Because you don't want to switch banks or have all these different transactions showing up during this process. So please don't do that. And I'm going to repeat this one again because I think this is very worth repeating. Do not deposit any cash into your account. I mean, I said it about 4 other times earlier, but it's very important because cash money cannot be traced, so to speak. And if the person who gave you the cash is not willing to provide their information on how they're able to give you cash, then it's useless. It's like, I'm just going to be honest with you. That's like, what are you, a dealer? Why do you get $400 worth of cash and deposit into your bank for? Where do you get that from? And like I said, unless you got a really good person that's like, paying you and they're saying, oh no, I gave, Rachel $400 because she did blah, 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 blah. Okay, guess what they might say? Well, are you going to provide Rachel with a 1099 at the end of her taxes on that $400? They're going to be like, what? I got to do all that? Girl, I ain't trying to get involved with that, girl. So I don't know how you going to justify that $400, but I ain't trying to get my business all out there. I just gave $400 to pay to do this job for me. So don't do it. Don't deposit no cash. I'm telling you. 120 days out. Stop. 30, 60, 90 days in the trend. 90 days before you apply. Make that be your last cash drop on day 92. Because anything under 92, baby, it's going to be questioned. And you're going to have to provide that proof. So that's my episode for today. Is just things that you don't do when you're applying for a mortgage. It's very important. Those things are very important. If you don't do nothing else, please don't do those things. Because you will be crying at the closing table. I'm going to be crying at the closing table. Because I'm going to be like, then you watch my podcast. I told you. Don't do that. I told you. So, I'm very upfront about and things that I do, things that I say. I want you to get that house. I want it for you, but if you don't want it because you don't take it seriously about what I'm saying, about what you need not to be doing, then guess what? You're not going to get that house. And if you don't want it bad enough to not do these steps, if you don't want it bad enough, then that's okay. You just don't want it. But if I'm giving you this information out here, I'm giving you the tea on realty, I'm giving it to you how I feel it, how it's true, what I know, what I see, and then you do the opposite, I don't want to hear that sad story. Oh, man, you told me. If I told you this is my profession, man. I got a license to do this. So guess what? I know what I'm talking about. I don't have a license to loan money because I'm not a lender. But I have a license about real estate. I know what happens. I know it can happen. So with that being said, I just want to put that out there. Just please don't do it, y'all. When it comes to mortgages, just follow, take heed to what I'm saying. Listen. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Tea on Realty again with Rachel. I'm so excited to be back doing my episodes again for you guys, presenting them to you here on YouTube, Podbean, and Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you follow me on all those: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and here on YouTube. And follow me on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. Wherever you are, you better believe the Tea on Realty is there. So don't even go there about you can't find me, because I'm there. We are there. So if you want to chat with me, or you have a question or a topic that you want me to talk about, email info@thetonrealty.org. Go to our nonprofit website, www.thetonrealty.org. If you want to donate, we have PayPal. We have Cash App. You can do check of money onto the Tea on Realty Incorporated. No cash. Donations are all tax deductible. So don't worry about that. You'll get that when you file your taxes. Just donate, help our cause out. Because I'm out here to educate you guys. I'm out here wanting to do these workshops for these buyers and these sellers. And I want to do these other things in the community to help you out. So however I can do that, I want to do that. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. I love you guys. You have a great week.